All right, let's try this again. So this is Dr. Osborne again, and once again, this is our rationalization is not truth, and fevers are healthy. Welcome to your daily adjustment. And this, guys, like we said, is where we try to stop fixing problems. We try to start fixing thinking, and the problems, guess what? They end up taking care of themselves. So today, I just really like to start by sharing one of my favorite philosophers. There was a book called Atlas Shrugged, and in Atlas Shrugged, Ayn Rand wrote that she said that I started my life with a single absolute, and that is that the world was mine to shape in my image of my highest values, and never to be given up to a lesser standard, no matter how long or how hard the struggle. See, guys, our highest value is truth. My highest value is truth, and she said that the hardest thing to explain is the glaringly evident. Which everybody has decided not to see, that we haven't seen the truth, and we're refusing to see truth during these times. Have we rationalized by giving up living based on the fear of dying from a virus that's contagious, but it's only dangerous to a small percentage of people? And the challenge is this, is rationalization is the process of not perceiving reality, but of attempting to make reality fit our emotions. Fear is an emotion, and because of that, we've literally stopped, as a country and as a world, stopped using logic. And unfortunately, truth is not for all men, but it's only for those people that seek it, truth seekers like you. And I implore you to seek truth. You guys are valuable. Your health is valuable. Your life is valuable. And I want to implore you to remember that the man who does not value himself, they can't value anything or anyone else. So one final thought from Miss Rand is that men who reject the responsibility of thought and reason can only exist as parasites on the thinking of others. So the purpose of all these videos that we've been doing is not to tell you what to think, but to actually get you thinking. So I am, therefore I think, right? Who are you? And I would suggest that you are brilliant. I would suggest that you are powerful. And I would suggest that you please do not forget it. So the mental challenge is to help you develop certainty that fevers right now are not dangerous, and they shouldn't be reduced with medication. Isn't that what we're all testing? Everybody has a fever with COVID or not, right? What do we do with our kids? So let's see what the experts have to say. The American Pediatric Association and the American Academy of Pediatrics, what do they tell us? They say that fever is a physiologic mechanism that has many beneficial effects in fighting infection. What? It's not something to be afraid of? And they say, although parents administer these fever-reducing medications like acetaminophen or ibuprofen to reduce a child's fever, the research emphasizes that the primary goal should be to help the child become more comfortable rather than maintain a normal temperature. Has nothing to do about the temperature. It has everything to do with how our emotions, right? They said medication should not be used to lower fevers. Fever, however, is really not a primary illness, but it's a physiologic mechanism that has beneficial effects in fighting infection. And they said that there's no evidence that fever itself worsens the course of an illness or that it causes any long-term neurologic complications. So they said the primary goal of treating a child with a fever should be to actually improve the child's overall comfort rather than focus on, like I said, normalizing their body's temperature. Wait a minute, that's different than what we've been told, right? They said that fevers are good and lowering a fever is bad. And approximately 1/2 of parents consider a temperature of like anything over 100.4 to be a fever, and 25% of people, like caregivers, would give a fever-reducing medication to anything over 100 degrees. Well, this is absolutely incorrect according to the American Pediatric Association, because they said that unfortunately as many as half of parents, like I said, administer actually incorrect doses of these fever-reducing medications, and 15% of them give over an abundant amount, which means that it's a level that's greater than what should be used in any medical treatment whatsoever. And when we look at acetaminophen and ibuprofen, the liver can't process excessive doses of this medication. So if your children take too much acetaminophen or more than that's recommended, toxic doses build up in their body. You can't be healthy when you're toxic. This toxicity can cause vomiting and liver damage and even death. So the problem is that parents give too much many times to lower a fever that shouldn't be lowered. And that they said it should be emphasized that fever is not an illness. It's just a physiologic mechanism that has all kinds of benefits, including fighting infection. Fever, it retards the growth, it retards the reproduction of bacteria and viruses. It increases your neutrophil production, your lymphocyte production, and it aids in your body's fighting an acute phase of like an infection there. The other thing is we think that they told us that fever enhances the function of the immune system. Well, and they said that there's no evidence that children with fever, as opposed to like heat stroke, right? And that's what a lot of times people get confused between fever and heat stroke, are at any adverse risk for additional like things such as brain damage. They said that fever does not cause brain damage in this article. And that's the interesting thing. Studies, when they look at healthcare workers, including physicians, it's revealed that most of them believe that the risk of heat-related, problems with an increased temperature, well, they said it's actually safe to be about 104 degrees. And they said all the stress is about being, over 104 degrees, just not justified. So they said the number one reason why these kids take medication is to reduce fever. Why? Because of the belief that high fevers cause brain damage in kids. This, my friends, is an urban legend. It's a myth. It's not true. A high fever can from an infection cannot raise the temperature of your child to the point that it's needed that's needed to cause brain damage, which is around 107.6. The body will actually regulate its core temperature to about 106 with viral and bacterial infections. So it's virtually impossible to get brain damage from a fever. And the only way that studies have shown that humans can actually get their internal temperature to that level that high, that 107.6, is via external environments, such as leaving a kid in a closed car during the summer. Yes, I think it's like 3.5% of children are susceptible to seizures, but not every child is. And a seizure is usually triggered by a quick rise in temperature, not an overall high number, and it doesn't produce any long-term damage typically. So the thing about medications to reduce fever, they don't prevent febrile seizures. The medications do reduce fever, and they do impair your immune system, and it results in a longer illness, and the spread, and it increases the spread. They said that reducing fevers is about 1,000 deaths a year. Because it damages our mitochondria, or the energy centers, and makes our bodies vulnerable, and has been linked to things like childhood asthma. In fact, one dose of acetaminophen per month will raise your child of developing asthma by 540%. Just one dose in the first 12 months of your life will raise it by that child's risk of having asthma by 70%. It's acetaminophen is the number one overprescribed medication, and like I said, it's dangerous. There's 100,000 calls to poison control centers, 56,000 visits to emergency rooms, 26,000 hospitalizations, and 450 deaths from liver failure alone every single year. And this is from the medical self-reporting system and data collection, which is estimated to be off by a factor of 10 to 100. So what is the danger of a high fever? Think about it. It's not what you've been told, right? It's what the facts are. We need to take the emotion out of it. The next decision you have to make is, when is it indicated to reduce a fever? And it's not. It's called interfering with your body, and that never works out well. Look, I have kids, and I know how hard it is to watch them suffer. I've been through it. I've been through watching a 4-year-old with 104-degree fever, and it's not fun. The thing is that lowering the fever is going to make the overall situation worse. So just keep them comfortable, keep them hydrated, keep them nourished, keep their nervous system clear, love them up, and guess what? They're going to get through it, okay? So I guess what I want to summarize in this, let's stop medicating our kids just to make them feel better. I mean, it's a crazy thing, because when we try to medicate them when they're young to make them feel better, now American kids have a drug problem. And the use of psychiatric drugs to treat ADD and depression and anxiety in children and teens it's been increasing, and now it's excessive. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention reported a nearly 400% increase in antidepressant use in children between the age of 12 and 19 between 1988 and 2008. In fact, CNN recently reported drugging our children with over-the-counter prescription medications can have unintended consequences. And then they actually were reporting what the author said. They said that it's likened to actually child abuse when we start giving our children these medications that are damaging them. We can and need to do better. Our kids are counting on us to start to think. So with this said, I just want to remind you, do you have any idea really how amazing your body is and how powerful you really are? Guys, look, regardless of what the TV, regardless of what the radio, regardless of what the internet, the drug ads, the drug companies, the government, and even your own doctor, and more importantly, your family have told you, you're not weak, you're not defective, you're not helpless, you're not prone to illness, you're not prone to injury, you're not prone to death. Actually, we will all die, but you are strong and you're well designed, you're well built, you're capable of handling most of the things that you encounter, and you're able to heal when vibrant health, look, is your natural state. You have an ability to heal, you have an ability to grow, you have an ability to be happy, and happy at a level far beyond what anyone's taught you to believe up until this point. You don't need to be dependent on medications. You don't need to be dependent on chemicals. You don't need to be dependent on gimmicks or doctors of any kind. You don't need to be afraid. And it's time for us to recognize and undo the lies that we've been told since we were born, and just wake up from your nightmare, wake up from this nightmare. And how do we do it? Look, there's only 4 steps, right? First of all, you got to begin by recognizing and trusting that inborn wisdom that you have within your body, that your innate intelligence, and know that you can, for the most part, control and direct your own health and your own life. It's in your control. It's not out of control. Number 2, you need to focus on the good in the world and moving towards what you want rather than always trying to avoid what you don't want. All that does is create fear. Number 3, you need to make healthy life choices that minimize the bad stuff and just maximize the good stuff. That's what we call the 5 essentials. Get adjusted. Number 4, make sure the connections between your brain and all the parts of your body are clear. They have to be clear so that your intelligent life force can correctly comprehend and just respond to everything that's happening both on the inside of you and happening on the outside of your body. Look, guys, it's time for us to take back our health. It's time for us to take back our life. It's time to take back yourself. Look, this is Dr. Osborne. Remember, we got to fix our thinking. Remember who you are, whose you are. You are brilliant and powerful. You don't have to be afraid. And all fear does is cause stress, which suppresses your immune system. Do you guys know that when you are under stress, it releases what we call steroid hormones? Those steroid hormones are the same things that they give to people that are actually, that have like organ transplants, to suppress their immune system so their body won't reject that organ. So when you're stressing on something, when you're stressing on a virus, when you're stressing on lack, all you're doing is suppressing your immune system. So if you're concerned about your immune system, stop stressing about it. Start focusing on good things. Start focusing on what you want in life. Start focusing on love, life, health, and happiness, and watch what will happen to your life.